All right, 2025. Found my first artifact of the year. It's a little one, but it's an artifact. Ancient man made this potentially hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. Um, this is what's referred to as a scraper. If somebody saw this laying in the dirt, they'd probably just think it was a rock. But somebody's familiar with Native American artifacts, it was laying like this. I knew right away that that was a flake and that this was flint. So I flipped it over, and as soon as I saw that rounded front edge and that bit taken out of there, I knew right away what it was, and so I picked it up. I have some other examples here. These are what would have been formerly arrowheads that were fired and broke out of probably a spear point, not an actual arrow, and then later picked up and repurposed. And then this is a very large version of this. And if you see, these kind of are very similar. So it's pretty much like that circular scraper there. These arrowheads are quite like these hafted scrapers up here, former arrowheads. And then the one I found today is a nice example of kind of like that one. Of course, much smaller. But these, as the name indicates, would have been used to scrape. And typically, they're very soft on one end, and that's because they're busted off of a larger piece of chert or flint. And then you could see how they very, I mean, this thing's small, it's the size of my thumb. You could see how they very meticulously drive flakes, a whole bunch of them. Each one of those little flakes would have been taken off with a larger stone, very carefully to kind of round this front edge and then sharpen it at the same time. When I first picked this one up, it's a big piece of slate, I thought, and I thought it was nothing. And I flipped it over and saw the bulb of percussion here and the soft backside. And then as soon as I looked at that leading edge, I knew right away all of those little flaking scars also. And this probably would have been used in the hand, not hafted into a tool. And it probably would have been used to scrape the flesh of an animal, like a deer or a caribou or something that was running around these parts hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. This one probably would have been, of course, used for something a bit smaller, maybe like a rabbit or a squirrel, to remove the fat from the flesh so that they could cure it and then later use it. Or maybe even haft it into a bone antler handle and use it to do some woodworking, maybe to scrape out the inside of a bowl or something like this. These arrowhead ones are kind of cool because they were later used after they were made for a different purpose and then picked up, and you could see how they drove flake scars down the front end of this to sharpen and round this back end to scrape. And then additionally this one as well. So sometimes we find these broken arrowheads and they appear broken at first, and you pick them up and realize that in fact they're actually a hafted scraper.